Hey everyone, even though we weren't able to do the live recording with everyone on the phone call from this week's Zoom session on Three Up, Three Down, I was going to go through the three clips that we went through as a group. We won't necessarily have everybody that was on the call in here with us, but we'd at least be able to talk through those clips so everybody has at least the same information from the meeting. So we'll go ahead and start to roll that one here with everybody so that everybody can get on the same page. We picked up with where we left off the week before, and we got through the first three clips that we had been working from. So this week we went through clips 4, 5, 6, and 7. So I'll get ready to go ahead and go through these here with us so that we're all on the same page and can kind of see things here from what we went through. So here's the first play that we would have seen. And this one is, it's got 2 strikes on the batter here. It's a swing and a miss and an uncaught third strike situation in which the ball bounces away from the catcher. Here you see the swing and the miss. There's the ball bounce away from the catcher, and then all of a sudden, the ball is no longer in reach of the catcher to make a play. And here in the replays, you'll see on the swing and a miss, as the batter runner goes ahead and tries to get to first base, and as the catcher tries to come get the throw, the ball gets deflected off the batter's foot and then starts to go ahead and bounce away. And we have to figure out, okay, what exactly do we have in this situation? Here's a great look at it. Okay, so there it is. And then here in slow motion for us as the batter tries to advance, the ball hits his heel and then bounces away from the catcher as the catcher tries to retrieve the ball in order to try and retire the batter runner on this uncaught third strike situation. Now, the one thing to at least kind of point out here is that intent is never a factor for interference. So even though the batter's actions here, in fact, the ball actually hits the batter's heel right there as you see it, even though that's an unintentional act, the reality of the situation here is that the ball is going to bounce away from the catcher and no longer be in that catcher's immediate reach. Because the deflection of this one, even though it was an unintentional act by the batter, because of that resulted in the ball no longer being in the immediate reach of this catcher, we're going to go ahead and rule that this is interference, and the batter runner should then be called out. Now, there are no runners on base in this situation. If there were runners on base in this situation, what you would do is you would return them back to the base that they had last legally acquired at the time of interference. And again, what's important to realize in this clip is that because the ball is no longer in the catcher's immediate reach, we have interference on the batter. He should be called out. And again, intent is not a factor for interference in this case. If you want the rulings, there's where you can find them in the rulebook 606C combined with 709A for you to go ahead and take a look at. Next clip number 5 will come up here for us. Another situation in which the ball is actually going to be right around the plates involving the catcher and the batter in this case. Here, the batter hits the ball bounces, and as you see here, the bat then hits the ball and then gets away from the catcher here in this situation. Okay, so there is the case there. Boom, you see the contact with it there too. Now, the rule is specific here that if the bat hits the ball, the runner shall be called out for interference. So that's exactly the call that we have here. So this then is interference because the bat hit the ball. It's not like the bat was laying on the ground and then the ball ran into the bat. Then you'd have a different situation as long as it was unintentional. So here in this case, whether it was intentional or not, the bat hit the ball, and then because the bat hit the ball and deflected it, it is then going to rule the batter out for interference here. Okay, and this is a batted ball, which is a little bit different than the other clip that we saw before. Again, intent is never a factor for interference here. But again, what I do want to at least kind of mention of here is that because the bat hits the ball, we need to go ahead and kill it right there and call interference. In the previous clip, remember that we talked about the fact that the ball was not in the catcher's immediate reach here in this clip. And that is because the ball hits the runner. Okay, because it's no longer in his immediate reach, then we can rule interference. If that one stayed in his immediate reach, we probably let the play go on. Now, the difference then between this play and then this one is that we have a batted ball in this situation, and the bat hits the ball, in which case then we should go ahead and kill it immediately, return any runners to the base last legally acquired at the time of this interference, and then call the batter runner out. So this ball should be dead immediately when we see this happen. You'll see the rule come up here, 605G. That's your reference you can take a look at to back up the support for that answer. The next clip that we went through is clip number 6 here. And here we have a situation with catchers. I'm sorry, no, we don't. This is the double play situation. Okay. From the looks of it there, we may have like something in terms of the back end of the double play. And when you take a look at this replay, What's important to note here is that as the first baseman fields it and tries to retire R1, notice where exactly R1's eyes are looking. He's looking over his shoulder to see what exactly the first baseman's going to do. And as the first baseman goes ahead and winds up to throw, you'll see the batter runner decide to come out and boom, try and interfere with that thrown ball. Okay. Now, many people will wonder, okay, now what do you do with the back end here? Can you get 2 outs out of this? And the answer is no. The only way we can get 2 outs out of this type of play is if the interference is, number one, intentional, and secondly, on a batted ball. Keep in mind here that this is on a thrown ball. So therefore, what we should have then is that the runner, R1, should be out at this time. Call time. That runner's out for interfering intentionally with this thrown ball. And because he is out at the time of interference, what happens then is we actually advance the batter runner to first base. So this extracurricular action that happens here, not a great throw, probably an illegal slide here as you see here, none of that matters because the batter runner should already be out on that interference of a thrown ball. Now, replay allowed Major League Baseball to get this one right. Let's say that you're on the field and didn't necessarily catch that R1 tried to intentionally interfere with this one. The question then that was asked in the group was, could you still get 2 outs if you didn't see that interference, but rather ruled that this slide was interference by a retired runner on an attempted play on another runner. And if that's the case, then the answer is yes, you could get 2 outs out of that, but only if you missed the interference on R1 on the thrown ball. If you call interference on R1 on that thrown ball, the ball's dead there, and anything else that happens is basically didn't exist. However, if you miss that interference, and as a result then here rule that this runner should be out for a slide or actions that prevented this player from making a subsequent play, then you could go ahead and get 2 outs out of that situation. Now again, because this interference was ruled on a thrown ball, the ancillary actions here or the auxiliary actions here on the back end of the double play attempt, they don't really matter here in this case because we have the interference then on the thrown ball. At that point, the ball is dead. And then we go ahead and advance the batter runner to first base. And if we had any other runners in that situation, they would be returned to the base that they last legally acquired at the time of interference. The rule you can reference here is coming up, 708B, especially on interfering on a thrown ball. And then again, if you wanted the double play, that is interference on a retired runner if you would have missed the intentional interference on a thrown ball. The last clip we went through, clip number 7 right here for us. In this clip here, we have catcher's interference, okay? Now, I'm going to rewind it back here. You can't necessarily see it here. The replays will show you the catcher's interference. But before we get going on this catcher's interference, it's important to note the situation. 1 out, runner at third base here. So here, the hitter makes contact with the catcher's glove. You can kind of see right there that the catcher pulls his glove right back. The umpire kind of flinches at it. But remember that catcher's interference is a delayed dead ball situation because the penalty for catcher's interference is either the result of the play, if the batter runner reaches first base safely, or if he's retired, then the batter runner goes ahead and gets first base, and runners would return to their bases unless they were forced by the advancing of the batter runner. So here we have that contact, the ball's in play. You'll see that here the runner does score. We got 1 out in the inning, and then that runner right there is retired, the batter runner is. Okay. Now we'll have catcher's interference. The umpire calls that catcher's interference. You can see it very clearly here in some of these replays. I'll rewind it here for us. Right there is the catcher's interference. And again, because the batter runner was retired in this situation, the offense is going to get the option here. And that's only because the batter runner was retired in this situation. They would either accept the result of the play or go ahead and ask for the penalty. If they ask for the penalty in this case, because R3 is not forced by the batter runner's advance to first base, he would go back to third base. Now, the other question that was asked in the Zoom call here was, how much coaching should you do to the manager to tell him that he's got the option or not? Well, my guess in this situation here, because the batter runner was retired, that if you were to bring or to send him to first base and then return the R3 back to third base, because that's where he started at the time of the pitch and wasn't forced by the batter runner, the manager would be asking, well, why doesn't that run a score? And then you could say, well, the result of the play, the penalty is to advance the runner to first base, and runners can only advance from that point if they're forced. Or you have the option to go ahead and take the result of the play. So do you want the run and the out, or would you rather send the runner back to third base and put your batter runner at first? So that was kind of one of the questions that was asked and addressed in the Zoom call there. And again, you can clearly see in these replays what exactly happens there. If you're wanting to brush up on the the catcher's interference rule and how to handle it, 608C is your reference point there, both with the penalty and things of that nature that go along with catcher's interference. Other than that, that was all that we went ahead and had in this version of 3 Up, 3 Down. We're in a debate here right now as to whether or not we'll go to runner's land interference next or go ahead and look at some wedge stuff. Part of me wants to take a break from the rules and look a little bit more at mechanics and some fun stuff like the wedge. I've got a poll out on Facebook for you on our CRLL to use if you'd like to go ahead and wager in if you'd rather have us address the wedge at second base as you two or hit runner's lane interference. We'll do them both eventually. Just what do you want next? Other than that, thanks for joining us. Hopefully you get to see us next week at 12:30 Eastern on Friday, September the 4th. Thanks, guys.